next guest is, you might think like the polar opposite of Leslie Osborne, and I would argue that's not the case. I scheduled both of these speakers for a reason, because to me they represent, some of the diversity of our state, and it also, I just love the idea of kind of book ending a conversation with a statewide elected official and a community activist, right? People who, in many cases, might be on the opposite side of an issue or different sides of an issue. But part of Civics Con is bringing people together and bridging those divides. So I'm going to invite my friend, our next guest, Jabee Williams. Some of you may know him. His music is on repeat in my car, like automatically. I have a Subaru, and when I get in, it just starts playing, and it's almost always Jabee. So come on up, man.
All right, how y'all doing? Good. Man, this is a cool room full of cool people. Happy to be here. I didn't know what to expect. I was just asked to kind of share on activism and how it's helped me in my community, and hopefully after I share, like, it'll lead to some discussions and help in some way, and it'll help you guys in whatever area you're doing. Thank you for sharing what you shared. It was awesome. It's always refreshing, especially after you feel like you're in a room by yourself and nobody understands, and so just to be in this room and hear you say what you said, I needed to hear that today. Thank you. I'm just going to touch on a few things concerning activism, and I've always wrestled with what it actually means to be an activist, or how do you become an activist, or what is an activist? And I came to the conclusion that for me, like, I don't know if I am an activist, and I think about whenever that title started to be attached to my name, and it was just simply, I was asked the question, and based on how I answered that question, oh, he's an activist, right? And so it could stay there, and I could just be the guy who does the interviews whenever something happens, and I'm the activist on TV, giving my opinion and trying to act like I have all the answers to all the problems, but and for some people, that's what activism is. That's what it looks like. We only see those people on TV. We never see those people, in our community, right? And so I like to think of myself as a community organizer as opposed to just being an activist, because oftentimes, whenever I think of activists, I think of somebody who's activated and they're like in the middle of the action. And I've learned just over the course of, really, I would say 2018 up to now, like, a lot of our activists, they aren't in the mix, And so when I think about what I've been involved in, how I got there, and I think about, how I did it, and what helped me and what hurt me, right? I always start by learning from people and listening to people. I was taught that if you want to do something, then get around people who do it well, and so, I've been fortunate enough to learn and to be around the philosophy of Clara Luper, right? I'm sure you all know who Miss Clara Luper is, and just especially in 2020, I really struggled with trying to stick to her philosophy and doing my own thing, right? And what I learned is that, and is it okay if I cuss? Okay. What I learned is that there are those times where I just feel like saying, man, I'll beat your ass. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm sticking to the philosophy of Claire Looper, she taught me this, and it's that with love, and this is why she's so great, because it's hard to do. It's hard to lead a movement out of love. It's hard to do it. It's hard to activate people and get people energized around the idea of doing it out of love, right? And I learned that because, just in some of the things, and I'm sure, Adriana will agree, that there are certain times where, let's say something happens tonight, right? And, a kid gets killed by the police tonight. And if I post a flyer that says on Twitter, I say, listen, everybody join me. We're gonna go show love to this kid's parents. We're gonna love on his family. We're gonna, take them food, let them know we care, and we're gonna show up at their house and just surround that house with love. It might be like 5 of us that come, 10, maybe a few. But if I get on Twitter and I say, we about to go burn this bitch down, meet me down here at this time, bring everything you got, fuck the police, everything, everybody and their mama comes out, right? And they ready to go. But what I learned is that there's a finesse that comes with learning how to do it out of love, but still letting people know, like, this is serious to me, and I'm a peaceful person, but I will beat your ass. You know what I'm saying? And more oftentimes than not, you don't even have to go there whenever you're leading with love, because there's something about the messaging, there's something about the philosophy, there's something about how love sounds, that can turn a bad situation to good, right? And so that's the first thing, is that with everything I do, I try to lean on those who came before me, who I've watched, who I've learned from, and I've studied, and I've been grateful and privileged enough to be around to say, okay, this is how I feel. I feel like just tearing stuff down, but if I want to survive, and I want my children to survive, and I want to see the promised land one day, like, what are some ways or some things that they did to ensure that I even had a chance to do it today, right? And so I always, no matter how I feel or how wrong I feel somebody is, or how right I think I might be, I always try to lean back on, those who came before me and the things that they did. What did they teach me? What did I learn? The second thing is that it's so important to listen to the impacted person. It's so important to listen to the family. It's so important to listen to the people who are going through it, right? Because at the end of the day, if I'm out here and I'm trying to be an activist and organize the community around this specific cause or this injustice, but I'm not listening to the people who are affected by the cause and then who are affected by the injustice, I'm just out there for Jabee, right? And that's that's one of the hardest things that I've learned because, you know, I guess let's take the Julius Jones injustice for example. You know, everything that we did, whether it was, you know, camp out in front of the governor's mansion, sit inside the state capitol, walk to McAllister, protest, rally, anything we did, we always had a conversation with his mom, his sister, you know, his attorneys. We had a conversation with him, you know, because the things that we do and however the outcome is going to ultimately affect them, right? And him and his life. And, you know, the good thing about his family and that situation was that his mom and his sister were very much like Miss Clara Luper, where they were like, listen, you know, this movement's all about love. It's all about peace. You know, it's God first, and that's it. You know, and you know, we prayed about everything. We really spent time in Scripture, going, you know, through everything we did. We went through that process through pastors and all those things. But there were times whenever, you know, we would do things like we would walk into McAllister, and we're confronted. You know, there's just 5 of us. And we're confronted by people in pickup trucks and guns, and I want to be like, I got a gun too. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be like that, but the whole story changes if I have a shootout in the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma. You know what I'm saying? Everything changes for Julius Jones at that point, right? So what do? Like, you know, we mind our business. We apologize. Hey, we're gonna be right by your house in a minute. Just let us keep walking. You know, all those things. I remember, you know, the week leading up to it, up to the scheduled execution day when we were all at the state capitol. I'm sure some of y'all were in there with us. You know, Julius's mom was firm on, I don't want any loud noise. I don't want any protests. I want praying and worship, right? So that's what we did. And every now and then, you would have somebody coming there seeing us. Hey, what y'all on the ground for? Get up. Y'all watch out while y'all praying. You this, and that. I got called an Uncle Tom, a house nigga, and everything else by people because I'm saying, listen, no, we're going to sit and I'm sick of singing. I'm sick of praying. You know what I mean? And I had to explain to people like this isn't about you. This isn't your son, right? If we forget to listen to the people who are the most impacted, the people who are dealing with the actual trauma at the time, right? Then we could do things that could cause them more trauma and more pain, right? And we can miss out on things. You know, us ourselves. I remember Adriana was there when we got the last mile on the walk to McAllister. When we arrived in McAllister, we had everybody come meet us and walk that last mile with us. And so everybody showed up, and, you know, they got the bullhorns, and everybody's ready to get loud and march, you know, that last mile to the prison, super loud, and just do what we usually do. And, you know, got the chants ready. You know, Adriana was queued up, ready to go. But Mama Jones said, let's do a silent march. She said, no, we don't make no noise. We're gonna walk this last mile in silence and just, you know, spend time in prayer and talking to God. I just want to do that. And so we start walking that last mile, and it's you know, 300 people, you know, walking, complete silence. That must be an Android, that kind of room. Got them green bubbles. So we walk in this last mile and everything's completely silent. And if you ever been to, the state penitentiary in McAllister, there's a smaller facility that you pass before you get to the big prison. And so we're walking silent. All you hear is like just footsteps, nobody's talking. And then you hear this like bam, 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 bam. And this loud, like kind of ringing, like echoes. And we were like, where is this coming from? And we look over to our left in that smaller facility, all we could see was just orange jumpsuits like banging on the windows and making noise and getting louder and getting louder and getting louder. And everybody's just stopping and looking and just, walking and, throwing the peace sign, throwing them the fist. But I think about that. I think, man, if we had been walking and chanting and making noise, we would have missed that whole moment. We would have missed that whole moment. And that reminded me, it's so important that we listen to those who are impacted. Because I could have been like, yeah, Mama Jones, but they need to hear us coming, right? That's how I felt. They need to hear us coming. But she was like, no, we're going to do silence. So it's important to lean on those people who have already done it and lived through it. It's important that we listen to those who are impacted, right? And then the last thing is just, I see it a lot because of this work. I've been able to like travel and meet a bunch of like people who, are like national leaders and things like that. And it's like meeting your hero and being let down that like, they're not who you thought they were, right? Because one thing about this work is that oftentimes, it comes with a lot of clout, it comes with a lot of money, right? And you can get some, we can lose ourselves in that. We can lose ourselves in that cloud. We can lose ourselves in that in the money and making money and opportunities, right? And at that point, and what I've learned is like, if we are doing this for the people, if we're sincerely about the people, right? We can never be about clout, because all clout is about me, right? And it can never be about money. And so, when I think about activism and I think about, community organizing and how important it is, because one thing I've learned about this, as I've just been in it, is that, the people have the power. You know what I'm saying? Like the people, when the people come together, that's the strongest thing. Whenever we're actually, together, and we aren't, and I see a lot of it, especially with, different groups, even in like-minded groups, like-minded spaces like this, there's so many people scratching and scraping to get to the top and be the one, and I got the answers and all of that, but, it's so important. It's so important to move forward and to actually to make a difference. Is that part that Clara Luper understood, was coming together. Coming together. It's a hard thing, and I will add one more thing. I just thought of it, is that like me, all of this has kind of been natural progression. My first thing was music, rapping. That's what I do. That's what I love to do. I always said that, I would never get involved in anything political because, you don't want to co-sign somebody and then, they let you down, or they lie, or they turn their back once they're on, or they don't get on, they turn their back, right? And somebody like me who comes from where I come from, if I validate somebody or I give somebody and say, yeah, this is the person to get behind, you know what I mean? And then that person ends up, betraying us or abandoning us once they get on, which often happens to black people, then it's gonna be on me. I still gotta live and die here in my community, right? So I always said, man, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to endorse anybody. I'm just, you know what I mean? But I understand just because of, doing music and using my art to express and talk about my community, it's important to be in those conversations, So it was kind of natural progression. And what I wanted to say is that whatever you have, like me, I have music and art, those are tools and things that you can use to organize and activate and be an activist. And one of the first things I did is, whenever, for instance, George Floyd got killed, I knew that the main place where OKCPD encountered black people is on the east side where I grew up. So I want them to know that we're watching them and we don't want you killing us. Now, I was like, okay, what can I do that, it's like me and that I know how to do well. And so I had the big letters on 23rd and MLK that said, stop killing us, right? And just that alone, helped to trigger other artists and other people to do other different things, right? So you may not be that, I don't know how you say it, that character or that, charismatic person, but we all have different giftings and different talents that, God has given us that we can use, as organizers, as activists to actually, put a dent and really work on this injustice that so many people are dealing with. And so, I hope those things that I said can help. I hope that, it'll start to spark some conversations. If you have any questions for me, I'm willing to answer them. But, thank you so much for having me, and it was fun.